Once upon a time, there was a woman named Elara. She was 28 years old, beautiful in a quiet, graceful way, and she walked like someone who had learned to carry herself with dignity even when life was not fair. She was 7 months pregnant, and her stomach showed proudly beneath the soft cream gown she wore that evening. Her smile came easily but not foolishly, and when she looked at you, she made you feel like she saw more than just your face. Elara had waited many years for a love she could trust, and now she believed she had found it in Marcus. He was smart, polished, well-spoken. He always knew the right words to say and how to say them. He made her feel safe. He made her laugh. He held her hands tightly when she was afraid of giving birth and whispered things like, "You're my whole world." Tomorrow, they were getting married. The house was full of noise. Cousins rushing up and down, aunties in headscarves frying chicken in the backyard, someone shouting from the hallway, who kept the baby wipes inside the cooler. It was loud, joyful chaos. Elara sat on the edge of the bed in her childhood room, gently rubbing her belly in circles. Her white veil was hanging on the door, waiting for the next day. Sophia, her cousin, walked in without knocking. She always did. "Elara," Sophia said, chewing gum as she sat beside her. "Are you just going to sit here till morning? You're not even going to do something special for your groom?" Elara looked at her with a tired smile. "What kind of special thing?" Sophia rolled her eyes. "You're about to marry the love of your life, and you won't even deliver his gift yourself. He's staying at the Grandview Hotel tonight. You can sneak in, give him that gold wristwatch you bought, write a sweet note. It'll blow his mind." Elara laughed softly. "Sophia, I'm tired. My legs hurt. I've been on them all day." Sophia leaned close and whispered, "Exactly why it'll mean even more. Do it for love." Elara hesitated. "You think it won't feel awkward showing up unannounced?" Sophia stood up and placed her hands on her hips. "It's your man. Your wedding is tomorrow. You're carrying his baby. If there's anyone who should knock on his door tonight, it's you." Elara thought about it for a moment. Then she stood up. "All right," she said. "I'll go, but I'm not staying long." Sophia smiled wide. "Good girl." The Grandview Hotel wasn't far. It was just past the fuel station and across the street from a tall glass bank building. It looked quiet and elegant under the night sky, glowing with soft yellow lights. Elara stepped out of the Uber, holding a small paper bag. Inside was the wristwatch and a folded handwritten letter. She walked slowly, her hand under her belly, her other hand carrying the bag. At the reception desk, the woman behind the counter looked up. "Good evening," Elara said gently. "Please, I'm looking for Mr. Liam. He checked in earlier today." The receptionist typed something into the computer and smiled. "Yes, he checked in this evening, but he's not alone. His instructions said no interruptions." Elara blinked. "He's not alone?" "Yes," the receptionist nodded politely. "He came in with a woman." Elara's heart dropped a little. "A woman?" The receptionist nodded. "Yes." Elara forced a smile. "Okay. Thank you." She stepped aside and walked slowly toward the elevator. She pressed the button and stood there, staring at her reflection in the shiny doors. Her fingers began to shake. Her eyes were wide, but her face stayed still. She didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was his sister. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was someone from the wedding planning team. But as the elevator opened and she stepped in, something in her chest said, "Go up there. Don't ignore this feeling." She pressed the button for the 7th floor. The hallway was silent. The air was cold. Her slippers made soft tapping sounds as she walked down the red-carpeted floor. She passed room 708, then 710. Then she paused. Room 712. The door wasn't open, but she could hear voices. Muffled at first, then laughter, and then a sound she didn't want to hear, moaning. Her hand covered her mouth before the scream could escape. She moved closer, placing her ear carefully near the door frame. It was Marcus's voice. Clear, calm, laughing. Elara is too emotional these days. Always talking about our future. I'm only marrying her because of the baby. If she wasn't pregnant, I'd be out. A woman giggled. You're wicked. She thinks this is love, he said. But she's nothing without that baby. Once the wedding is done, I'll control everything. More kissing sounds. The bed squeaked, then silence, followed by more moaning. Elara's lips trembled. Her eyes filled with tears, but they did not fall. She reached into her handbag and pulled out her phone. With shaky fingers, she opened the voice recorder and pressed record. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stood there, listening, holding her phone steady. She recorded the words, the sounds, the proof. She wanted to vomit, but she held it in. The recording lasted almost 6 minutes. When it stopped, she backed away slowly, almost like a ghost. She walked back to the elevator, still recording the empty hallway as she moved. Her hand touched her belly again, but this time it wasn't with joy, it was with protection. She would protect her child. Back in the Uber, her face was pale. The driver asked if she was okay. She nodded silently. She didn't go back home right away. She asked the driver to stop at a nearby pharmacy. She bought water, tissues, and a new memory card. She copied the recording to it. Then she sent a backup to her email. Then she sat in the car for 5 minutes, breathing. The driver didn't say anything. He just waited. Elara finally looked out the window and whispered to herself, I am not the fool you think I am, Marcus. Tomorrow, I'll show you. Elara didn't sleep that night. She lay on her side, wide awake, staring at the wall in the dark. Her phone sat on the bedside table, still glowing from where she had replayed the recording over and over again. She had heard his voice. She had heard the laughter, the moaning, the lies. There was no mistake. She was 7 months pregnant with Marcus's child. And while she was dreaming about forever, he was upstairs in a hotel room with another woman, mocking her, laughing about controlling her life after the wedding. Elara didn't cry. Not a single tear dropped from her eyes. The pain was sharp, but it didn't break her. She held her belly gently and whispered to her child in the darkness, I'll protect you. I promise, no one will ever use you to hurt me again. The fan above her head turned slowly. Outside, crickets chirped. Inside, her heart burned. At 5:12 a.m., she stood up from the bed. Her mind was clear. By the time the sun came up, the compound was already busy. Women were peeling yams. The decorator had arrived with ribbons. Aunties argued over seating arrangements. Loud gospel music played on the speaker near the kitchen. Everyone was excited, but Elara moved like a shadow through the house, quiet, focused. She went into the guest room and shut the door behind her. Then she picked up her phone and dialed a number. The man who answered had a deep, slow voice. Uncle Quasi, she said. Elara? Is everything okay? No, sir. I need your help. Please don't ask questions. I'll explain everything later, but I want you to pull out your investment from Marcus's business. He paused. Pull out. The wedding is tomorrow. I know. That's why I'm asking now, before it's too late. Did he do something? Elara's lips tightened. Yes. But I can't talk over the phone. There was silence. Then the voice said softly, I'll take care of it. Are you safe? I am now. Good. I'm proud of you. She ended the call. Then she made the next one. Barrister Aisha, she said as the voice picked up. Good morning, Elara. Excited for the big day? Elara didn't smile. Barrister, I need you to cancel the marriage license. I want it withdrawn from the registry completely. There was a short pause. Wait, what? I'll pay any extra fee. Just don't let that license be valid tomorrow. Not even for 1 second. Elara, is this about Marcus? Are you sure? I've never been more sure in my life. The lawyer sighed. All right. I'll call the registrar's office before they open. But Elara, please, just be sure. I'll send a formal message now. Okay. I'm on it. Elara hung up and finally exhaled. She had no ring on her finger yet, and she would make sure she never wore his. By 8 a.m., Sophia walked into her room, holding 2 plates of jollof rice. Morning, bride-to-be, she said, acting like nothing happened. You didn't eat dinner, so I brought you something small. Elara looked at her cousin. Really? Sophia was smiling too much. Her voice was too sweet. Her eyes kept darting away, like she couldn't hold Elara's gaze for more than a few seconds. Thank you, Elara said, taking the plate without touching it. Sophia sat beside her on the bed. Are you okay? You look tired. I couldn't sleep. Oh, it's just nerves. Big day tomorrow. Elara smiled faintly and nodded. Yes. Big day. I saw your dress hanging on the door, Sophia said, grinning. You'll look like a queen. I hope so. Sophia picked up one of the bangles on the table and wore it. I wish I was in your shoes. Marcus is a real catch. Handsome, rich, loyal. Elara turned her head slowly. Loyal? Sophia froze, then laughed quickly. Of course. I mean, he loves you. Elara nodded and stood. Thanks for the food. I need to rest. Sophia stood too, brushing her dress. Sure, just call me if you need anything. Anything at all. As soon as the door closed behind her, Elara locked it. Then she walked to the mirror and looked at her reflection. She touched her hair, her belly, her face. Tomorrow, I'll show you who you played with, she whispered. Later that afternoon, Marcus called. She let the phone ring twice before picking up. Baby, his voice came through, smooth and sweet. How are you? I'm fine. You didn't pick my last call. I was with family. Oh. You know I can't wait to see you walk down that aisle tomorrow, right? I couldn't even sleep last night. Elara pressed her lips together. You didn't sleep? Not really. I just kept thinking about you and our baby. We're really doing this. Yes. We are. He chuckled. You sound serious. Are you okay? I'm just tired. You know, pregnancy and wedding don't mix well. True, but once we're married, you'll rest plenty. I'll spoil you silly. Elara nodded, even though he couldn't see her. I believe you. Marcus continued, I already checked with the photographer. The drone will be in the air by 11 a.m., and the MC will announce our first dance right after the pastor prays. Okay. There was a pause. Elara, are we good? We're perfect. Marcus laughed. That's my girl. They ended the call. Elara stared at the wall for a while. Then she got up and began writing names on a list, names of people she wanted to see her victory live and in color. That evening, her father walked into the room, holding a small white Bible. My daughter, he said gently, let me pray with you. Elara stood and took his hands. He closed his eyes and said, Father, tomorrow is the beginning of a new chapter. May this marriage be filled with peace, love, and loyalty. Elara said nothing. Her hands trembled slightly in his. "Amen," he whispered. She opened her eyes slowly and nodded. "Amen." But in her heart, she prayed a different prayer: let the truth be louder than his lies. The next morning, the sun rose quietly. Birds sang. Flowers opened. The world acted like everything was fine. Elara sat in the makeup chair, staring at her reflection as the artist applied powder to her face. "You're so calm," the woman said. "Most brides are shaking by now." Elara smiled lightly. "I'm ready." Her gown was laid out on the bed, the same one Sophia had helped her pick weeks ago. As the makeup artist moved to her lips, Elara's phone buzzed. It was a message from her lawyer. "License cancelled. Officially withdrawn. No valid marriage can take place today. Good luck." Elara smiled. Downstairs, Marcus was already waiting in his wine-colored suit. He looked perfect, clean haircut, polished shoes. He stood outside, greeting guests as they arrived, laughing, shaking hands, looking like the man every mother wanted for their daughter. He had no idea. Sophia stood beside him in a gold bridesmaid dress, grinning like a thief who had never been caught. Elara looked at them both through the window. She wasn't angry anymore. She was ready. Back in her room, she pulled out the memory card and slid it into a small device. It was a Bluetooth audio connector. The church hall had big speakers, and the mic system was wireless. Once she got the mic, all she needed was 30 seconds. She put the small device inside her bouquet, hidden but reachable. Then she whispered to herself one more time. Not every bride gets to wear a gown and walk into her freedom. The convoy was ready. The cars moved. The people cheered. The cameras rolled. Everyone thought they were going to witness love. But Elara was taking them to war. The church stood tall with white walls and gold ribbons tied on every window. Inside, chairs were neatly arranged. Pink and cream flowers filled the altar. A giant banner above the stage read, "Welcome to the wedding of Marcus and Elara." People laughed, whispered, took photos. Ushers moved around, fixing small things, arranging chairs, pointing guests to the correct side. The choir tested their microphones. Everything was perfect. Or so they thought. Outside, Marcus stood proudly near the church entrance, shaking hands with his groomsmen. He wore a sharp white suit with black velvet details. His wristwatch sparkled in the sun. Every now and then, he checked his phone, smiling. His friends clapped him on the back. "Today is your day, bro. You pulled a smart one. Elara is top class. God really favored you." Marcus laughed loudly. "I told you, didn't I? When a man knows what he wants, he goes for it." Sophia stood nearby in her bridesmaid gown, pretending to take photos of the decorations. She stole glances at Marcus, biting her lower lip. When their eyes met, she quickly looked away and smiled to herself, but inside, she was burning with pride. She thought she had won. She had slept with the groom the night before the wedding, and her cousin Elara had no idea. Meanwhile, inside a different car, Elara sat still like stone. Her makeup was flawless. Her face glowed. Her veil covered her face softly. Her gown fit her perfectly. White silk that floated like water around her. People were watching from outside as her bridal car pulled into the church compound. Children screamed, "The bride is here." Phones came out. Guests rushed forward to get a picture. Inside the car, Elara stared straight ahead. She did not smile. She did not blink. Her hands rested on her belly, but her fingers were wrapped tightly around the bouquet that held the small device inside. Beside her, her father whispered, "Are you ready, my daughter?" Elara turned to him slowly. "Yes, Daddy. I'm ready." The door opened. She stepped out. And just like that, the air changed. Every guest stood to their feet. Heads turned. Some gasped. Elara looks like a queen. She's so beautiful. God really created this one with extra time. She walked gently, each step deliberate, her face calm but unreadable. The sun touched her skin like it knew she was the main event. As she entered the church, the organ began to play softly. The ushers guided her in. Marcus's face lit up when he saw her. He couldn't stop smiling. He leaned toward his best man and whispered, "She came. I was starting to think she'd change her mind." The man chuckled. "You're lucky. Not every woman will carry your child and still look this good." As Elara walked slowly down the aisle, her eyes locked on Marcus's. She didn't look left or right. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. Marcus thought it was nerves. He smiled even wider and whispered, "You look amazing." Elara said nothing. She reached the altar. Her father gave her away and kissed her forehead. She took her place beside Marcus and turned to face Pastor Ben. The pastor smiled at them and raised the microphone. "Good morning, everyone. Today is a special day. A day where love wins. A day where two hearts become one." Elara's fingers tightened around the bouquet. Her heart was beating like a drum inside her chest, but her face stayed calm. She looked at the pastor. Then she looked at Marcus. She waited. The pastor continued for a few minutes, blessing the couple, talking about unity, love, and trust. Then he looked at Marcus. "Groom, it's time to say your vows." Marcus smiled proudly. He took the microphone. "Elara," he began, "from the first day I met you, I knew you were special. You brought peace into my life. You brought joy. You brought a future." He turned slightly, facing her. "You carry our child. And with each day, you carry more of my heart. I promise to love you, protect you, and be your partner in everything. Today, I give you my word, forever." Everyone clapped. Some people wiped their eyes. Sophia watched from the front row with a small grin. She kept glancing at the couple and then down at her phone, secretly recording everything. Marcus handed the mic back to the pastor. Now, it was Elara's turn. The pastor turned to her. "Bride, your vows, please." Elara didn't move. There was a pause. Then she slowly took the microphone. But instead of speaking, she reached down into her bouquet and pressed the button on the small device. It connected. The sound system crackled. A second later, a voice played loudly from the speakers. "Elara is too emotional these days. Always talking about our future. I'm only marrying her because of the baby. If she wasn't pregnant, I'd be out." A woman giggled. "You're wicked. She thinks this is love, but she's nothing without that baby. Once the wedding is done, I'll control everything." More moaning. Kissing. Laughter. Gasps filled the church. People looked around in shock. Is that Marcus's voice? Wait, what is happening? Someone stood up. Turn it off. But Elara stepped forward. No, she said calmly. Let it finish. Marcus's face turned white. He reached for the microphone, but Pastor Ben held him back. Elara, the pastor said, what is this? She turned to face the crowd. This, she said softly, is what happened last night while I was home praying for this day. This is what my groom was doing. She held up the microphone. That was recorded on the 7th floor of the Grandview Hotel, room 712. That's where my groom and his real lover spent the night. Gasps turned to murmurs. Phones came out. People began recording. Marcus stepped forward, trying to speak. Elara, it's not what you think. She turned to him sharply. Not what I think. You mocked me. You said I was nothing without this baby. You laughed with another woman in a hotel room while I lay awake, believing in us. Marcus reached for her hand. Please, let me explain. She pulled away. Don't touch me. Sophia stood now, pale and shaking. She tried to leave the row quietly, but Alara's voice rang out. Oh, and before anyone asks who the other woman is, look no further. She pointed at Sophia. Meet my cousin, maid of honor, bridesmaid, and the woman my groom slept with last night. The church exploded. Women screamed. One woman fainted. Marcus froze. Sophia covered her face and sat back down. Pastor Ben looked like he couldn't breathe. Alara removed the veil from her face. She lifted her head and looked out at the guests. I came here today to marry a man I thought loved me, but instead, I found out the truth just in time. She took off her engagement ring and dropped it on the floor. I won't cry today. I won't run. I will walk out of here, head held high, and raise this child in peace, alone. She stepped off the altar. People stood to their feet, shocked, unsure what to do. Marcus stood frozen in place, his mouth open but no words coming out. Alara turned to the choir. You may start singing now, but not for a wedding. Sing for freedom. Then she walked down the aisle, bouquet still in hand, dress flowing behind her like a queen in battle. As she reached the doors, the choir began to sing. Guests clapped, slowly at first, then faster, then loudly. Phones were everywhere. The bride didn't look back once. Outside, the sun hit her face. Fresh air filled her lungs. Her baby kicked. And for the first time in days, she smiled. Outside the church, Alara stood under the hot sun, holding her gown up slightly so it didn't drag on the ground. Her bouquet, the same one that held the hidden Bluetooth device, now hung loosely by her side. She wasn't crying. Her face was calm, but there was something new in her eyes. Strength. The kind of strength that comes from heartbreak. The kind that doesn't need noise to be heard. A small crowd had already followed her out. Some were trying to talk to her. Others just stood back, watching in silence. A woman from her father's church came close, her voice soft. Alara, my daughter, are you okay? Alara looked at her with a steady gaze. I will be. Someone else shouted from behind. What happened inside? Is the wedding cancelled? Another woman replied before Alara could speak. Cancelled. She exposed him. The groom was cheating with her own cousin. Gasps echoed. Some guests who had not entered the church yet were now rushing to their cars, whispering into their phones. Inside the church, the atmosphere had turned cold. No music, no joy, just shame and confusion. Marcus was still standing at the altar, his hands shaking, his mouth moving but no words coming out. His mother, Mrs. Davies, ran to him from her seat. Marcus, what is this nonsense? Is it true? Tell me it's a lie. Marcus looked at her with wide eyes. Mommy, I don't know what she's talking about.